Good morning, everybody. I am Brenda, the HR lady. You can follow me at brendathehrlady.com. And I am here with my partner in crime, Suzanne Lucas, the evil HR lady.
Yay! We're here together.
We are here together and two different continents on top of it.
Two different continents, two different time zones, one combined fabulousness.
That's right. That's right. That's right. We do the work when we share the love for free. So, all right.
So much work, my word.
So today we're going to be talking about, actually, you know what? I'll let you introduce the subject today.
Well, there's this little thing. I don't know if any of you have noticed. We've had this like pandemic thing going on, and people have been wearing masks and getting vaccinated, and now all of the rules are changing. And so all of those policies that you wrote a year ago now need to be thrown out, and you need entirely new policies to address safety for your employees and to comply with state, federal, and local guidelines. And plus your employees are a little bit cranky, and you're a little bit cranky because everybody's been dealing with this pandemic for the past 15 months or whatever. And so we thought we would walk you through some of the things that you need to have in your mask policy and your vaccine policy, and then answer any questions that you might have to the best of our ability, with the caveat that we are not lawyers, and furthermore, that we don't know the laws in all 50 states. And we certainly don't know the laws outside of the US. So I could probably answer some specific laws about Switzerland, but I wouldn't be the source of information for that either. I know I'm in Switzerland. I am in, well, the rest of us, I don't know where everybody is. I'll start with masks. So the CDC came out and said, if you're vaccinated, then by vaccinated, they mean fully vaccinated. So that means that you've received both doses of the vaccine or the single dose of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And it's been 2 weeks since your last shot. So that's what fully vaccinated means. Then you're not required to wear a mask inside or outside unless you're required to by some other law or regulation, or you're a super high risk individual, in which case they still advise you to wear a mask. And so suddenly many people were like, woohoo, and they threw out their masks, and now they're angry when they come to work and their HR manager says, put that mask back on. But that's because they missed that part of the announcement, which was you still have to comply with any state or local rules. And the Occupational Safety and Health Administration hasn't quite caught up yet to the CDC, unless they did so today. I haven't seen. Have you seen, Brenda? I imagine that I will know as soon as it happens, because all my friends, I'll feel a crack in the, yes, a crack in the planet. But, you know, all of my friends are fellow HR enthusiasts. That information tends to get around quickly. We are so much fun at parties. Please invite us to your parties because we are fun. We will talk about OSHA regulations. OSHA has given signs and hints that they're going to follow the CDC guidelines, but right now they are not with the CDC guidelines. I expect that they will go to the CDC guidelines, but they are not at the moment. And some states like Oregon have just made masks at work permanent. And when I say permanent, I'm really saying that with quotes around it. They're not intending that 10 years from now, everyone's still wearing a mask. But their regulations in Oregon prevented them from extending the mask requirements again as an emergency measure. They either had to make it a permanent measure or get rid of it, and they chose to make it a permanent measure. So I know that they are planning to repeal it eventually, but not right now. So when you are in Oregon and there's other states that are the same way, and your employees are seeing Dr. Fauci on the news saying you don't need to wear a mask if you're vaccinated, and then the HR manager's like, put that mask back on, it can cause a little bit of conflict at work.
Just a little bit. Sorry, I'm navigating work from home environment here going on. And matter of fact, there's going to be issues that are coming up. And oddly enough, and this is terrible, but my phone pinged me on an email that sure enough, as soon as one of my clients went ahead and made the comment, or we put the policy out together, that in fact, hey, listen, anybody who is fully vaccinated, we gave the definition, we wrote a policy about it. The very first person that we had a concern about immediately set up and said, nope, absolutely not. We are not. He's like, I'm not wearing a mask. So it's going to happen. And you really need to talk through the details on this. I mean, this has been the year of talking through the details on everything that's going on. So we had talked through the details. We've already come up with a plan because we anticipated this one person acting in this manner. And now they just have to execute at this point.
And this is talking through the details. And as I said, people are at the end of their ropes. And even though we're like, okay, we're on the upside, they're still tense and stressed out. And actually, yesterday on my Facebook group, Evil HR Lady, shameless self-promotion right there, this question came up, and the feelings that were going on there were strong. And there were some people that found it highly offensive that you would say, vaccinated people, you don't need to wear a mask. Unvaccinated people, you do. And it's not a legal question. We have lots of precedents for this with flu shots, and this has been the standard remedy. If your company has required flu shots in the past and you do not want to get one, or you cannot get one, then you were to wear a mask during flu season. So this has been firmly established in the courts. So I'm not concerned about the legality of this at all, but there's this huge emotional thing going on, where people saying, it's unfair, or I'm being singled out, it's discrimination. I don't think it is any of those things, because for most people, it's a choice whether they get it or not. If you have a health concern, that's different. But if you're someone that your doctor has said, don't get this vaccination, you're a high risk individual, and you should be wanting to keep that mask on anyway, because that will protect your own health. But if you're making the choice not to, and your company says you've got to wear a mask, then that's just how it is. But it can definitely bring up these emotions. And another one of the problems is that the CDC guidelines are really around vaccination and not around people that have recovered from COVID. And that's another group of people that are like, hey, why should I get vaccinated? I've already had COVID. And so I don't want to wear a mask either. And this can be a really difficult thing to navigate. Because it was easier to navigate when the rule was everybody wear a mask.
Right.
That's an easy rule to navigate. Everyone wear one, the end.
Yeah. And there's quite a few people that are really against the mask mandate for whatever reasons. I mean, we know this, that there's a wide varying of opinions, right? There just are. And these are just things that you have to contend with. But on the same time, there's a lot of people that, even I had a earlier group meeting today with a network group. And there were people that are saying, like, look, we're not comfortable with this honor system. And this is a situation where there is no right answer. There is no one right answer.
Right.
And
Right.
there are right answers for different groups with people of different levels of belief. So for the people who are, have reason to be concerned about the impacts of COVID on their own health or on their family members, there are right answers for them. And for those individuals who are not at high risk, those people that see a mask mandate as a restriction of their liberties, and they're not necessarily wrong there either, right? In a lot of arguments, there's right answers for those people as well. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to navigate. And as I said, emotions are running really high around this. Partly that's just because of the nature of Americans. We like to argue stuff. But we've all experienced this trauma thing in this past year, and everyone's tired of this. And when you get cranky, this is handing out a Snickers bar is not fixing it. And if it would,
Hey, we should have gotten
that.
promo money for that one.
Yeah, dang it! I'm gonna message. Snickers is M&M Mars, right?
Yeah, should get in touch with Betty White's people.
All right, I'm gonna do that. I do have a good M&M story. If nobody has any comments, and then we have time, then I will share my M&M story. But anyway, people are emotional about this, and your employees might be too. And one of the women on my Facebook group, she was like, her doctors told her not to be vaccinated for a health reason, and she's like, I feel like a second-class citizen if I'm the only one in the office with a mask on. Those feelings are legitimate. Like, I can sit here and say, look, it's for your own protection. Suck it up, honey bunny. It doesn't change how she feels personally. That, like, it's like, the lepers in the New Testament ringing their bell and shouting unclean, unclean as they walk around. We don't want to have that type of attitude. But you're going to have a lot of people angry if you're like, well, you're fully vaccinated, but we're just going to keep on doing it like you're not. There's definitely not a super easy solution to this. And you really need to tailor your solution to your company, your employees, and
Right.
your customers. Because, like, if I'm running a nursing home, I don't care. We're still all masked. All right. Because I've got 120 90-year-old people in there, and I'm not taking any risks. That's me. If I were running a nursing home. If I'm running a Burger King, am I going to have that same concern? Probably not. Costco, among other retailers, decided for customers that if they were vaccinated, they didn't have to wear a mask, and it was this completely the honor system.
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee you, a company the size of Costco sat down with lawyers, debated it out. This was not a policy written by one person at 2:00 in the morning. This was undoubtedly a really thoughtful look at what needed to happen. And that was the conclusion that they came to. That may not be the conclusion that you come to for your business.
And you know what? Look, Delta Airlines is also an interesting example too, because Delta is actually requiring their employees to get vaccinated, brand new employees, but they're not pursuing existing employees for that.
Yeah, I find that a fascinating thing.
Yeah, I wonder how they work that one around. But then again, and there's also, I mean, the challenge with vaccinations, and we've talked about this before, right? Is that there's about like half of the states are starting to are putting laws in place to actually prohibit mandatory vaccines. Um, and there's obviously going to be some carve out and some provisions, especially like the healthcare industry. There's hepatitis and bloodborne pathogens that have to still be addressed, and nobody's going to give any qualms about that, because quite frankly, which would you rather have, COVID or hepatitis? So but we still have an outstanding case that's over in New Mexico right now on whether or not the vaccine can be mandated because of how it was introduced and how it was approved under the emergency authorization use, also known as EAU. And under the laws of EAU approved vaccines cannot be mandated. So there's a lot of, this isn't over. Remember when I said, when this all came out, that vaccines are going to be the hottest contested topic of 2021? Ta-da! Here we are.
And once again, Brenda is right.
When I'm right. I'm sorry. It doesn't happen
Follow
all the
us.
time.
Although I would prefer that you were wrong in this case and it was really easy and everything was resolved.
I know. And I would so be happy to eat crow on that one. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And
Yeah,
what?
and
We've been around the block long enough that we know how to play this game. So.
And I did actually check that lawsuit yesterday because I wanted to follow up
Yeah.
on it, and it's
Yeah.
still going forward.
Yep.
So there's been no resolution on it. It
Nope.
was a prison guard in New Mexico. And he says, we don't have the authorization to require them until these are officially approved, which is projected to be in 2023. And clearly we're not going to wait till 2023 to continue vaccinating. Incidentally, as of yesterday, 48% of the population in the US has received at least one shot, and 38% are fully vaccinated. So that's a good portion of the population, and we're going to see those numbers are continuing to go up, but not as rapidly as before. But I suspect as we get into summer, a lot of universities are requiring students to be vaccinated before they come back to school in August and September. I'm betting we'll see a spike of young people. In some areas, of course, the people over 75 is like 80-90% compliant with the vaccine. So, and those are, of course, your highest risk groups. So, but with the 48% of the population that has received at least one shot, chances are that means of your employees, you've got this 50-50 mix. And because in most areas in the United States, the vaccines are readily available now, you don't have to make an appointment 3 weeks in advance and jump on at 6 a.m. when it becomes open to try to log on and get your spot. You can just go get one. The people that don't have them are pretty much decided not to have one, and the people that want one have already had one. So you've got some lines drawn in the sand there. And as I said, emotions are running high. And this is why you just need to sit down and think about your business, your employees, your customers. Like I said, if I'm running a nursing home, do I want everyone in that door to be vaccinated? Yes. If I'm putting my parents in a nursing home, do I want to make sure that that's one of their policies? Yes. I don't really care about your other business so much, but those types of things you've got to think about. There's that crazy school in Florida that said they were going to fire any teacher who was vaccinated. I
hadn't heard about that one.
Oh yes, it was this private school, and so they said if you got vaccinated, you would be fired. And I don't really know what happened after that.
Is it a religious-based school?
I believe it's a religious-based school.
That sounds like something that would come out of a religious-based school.
Yeah,
of some kind.
But yeah, it's
that's okay. I was just curious. That's all. So
yeah,
we don't have to go down that rabbit hole, but ultimately, again, what we're coming back out to say is that these are the things that you have to keep your eye on. Now, my number one live and die rule in government contracting is the same body of government that tells you that you have to abide by a law is the same body of government that's going to put you in a position to violate it. And so here we are in general, in Gen Pop, right? General population. That's exactly what we're up against here right now, because the CDC has come out with this announcement, and all of a sudden now everybody's on the honor system, but yet we're up against, okay, so what happens if you have a business that doesn't enforce a mask policy, which they're entitled to, right?
Right.
According to this, but then they're also up against a couple of different risks. The biggest one is going to be the risk that's the general duty clause of OSHA, and also the general duty clauses of mini OSHA as it pertains to the individual states. So that's a big one right there. And then you have some states that are mandating and not mandating, and some other states that are just like, nope, still needs to happen. It's crazy. And I'm going to give you an example of how nutty everything is. So there's the Jackson Lewis Employment Lit Watch is what it's called. You can Google this and you just go Jackson Lewis COVID-19 Lit Watch, LITWATCH. Yesterday, or 2 days, no, a couple days, last week, we'll just go there. Last week, do the math, Brenda. Anyway, it was like 2,206 total complaints that are currently in place in the courts, filed, probably have started to be processed since January. Today, 2,294. That's how fast litigation is moving across the country right now. Here's the blowout. Disability leave and accommodations is the highest, where normally retaliation usually is the highest. Disability leave and accommodations, 915 total complaints filed out of that number. The second highest is retaliation, but the delta is so far 554 complaints filed. The third highest is discrimination at a close 405. Then the next gap is workplace safety and conditions at 151. So I expect to see a spike in workplace safety conditions as a result of this. I think that's a possibility, and it's a little bit more probable than possible, because I think there are going to be nervous and scared employees that want to keep the mask mandate in place until a higher percentage of people in the US are vaccinated.
Yeah. It's going to be an
That's okay
interesting
with
thing
us.
to see if they say. I don't know. As I said, I see signs leading towards them following the CDC's guidelines, but it is possible that they'll go the other way. And I was hoping that they would announce today, but as I said, I haven't seen anything.
They may do it
And
later
but
this afternoon.
they might, but regardless as well, it
Their
depends
people
on.
didn't call our people in time for this.
I know. Except Brenda, we should get some people.
I know
We
your
need
snark is
we need
rubbing off
people.
on me.
We need people. Um, yeah, but if you live in a state where they are still requiring it, it doesn't matter to you. But if you live in a state where they've lifted all COVID restrictions, it can be kind of complicated, and it can make your employees angry. If you're in a state where the governor has said, we're done, we're all done, and that's fantastic. And I'm going to trust that that was the right decision for their state. Because nobody asked me and nobody shared their data with me, but I'm just gonna, I mean, the data's on the computer, I shouldn't look. But I have to trust that they made the right decision for their state, but that may not be the right decision for your business. You can always make it more restrictive. You can't make it less restrictive than your state laws require.
Right.
So you can't say, if you're in Oregon, well, I'm going to ignore the Oregon OSHA and just say no more masks. You can't do that. But if you're in Texas, you can say, I'm going to go ahead and have my employees still wearing masks, even though we're fully open, with one caveat. the governor of Texas signed an executive order. It will go into effect on June 4th, prohibiting state and local governments, offices, and schools from requiring masks. So that is interesting. So if you are in Texas and you work for a governmental organization that is not federal government is separate.
Right.
The governor can't make any rules for the
No,
federal government
cannot
employees.
do it.
But for state or local or schools, you cannot require masks. But you also need to allow people that want to continue to wear masks to wear masks. And there will be people that will say, you know what, I'm going to wear masks forever. And I got to say, I am not a fan of masks. I can't wait till my beloved country finishes their mask mandate. But on the other hand, I didn't get any sinus infections in this past year. Which I can't overlook. I also didn't get COVID, but my city has never had a big outbreak. We've always been we've had cases, but we've always been really low. So that doesn't surprise me. But a year without a sinus infection, it's like, wow. So maybe you'll see me 5 years from now and you'll be like, why is Suzanne still wearing a mask? And I'll be like, because I don't like sinus infections. Yeah. I mean, this is a thing. And, if you came to me in 2016 and said, I have this employee, my receptionist is always wearing a face mask, I would be like, that's against your dress code, forget it. But now if you came to me and I would say, well, then let her wear a face mask. Like, yep. There's no harm. What are you talking to me about this for me? There's no harm, no foul. She can wear a face mask if she wants to wear a face mask. That's a real different change in how we as a society have looked at masks now. So even if your government is saying no more masks are required, you and your private business, even in Texas as a private business, you can say, you know what, my employees are still wearing masks, or even my customers are. No shirt, no shoes, no mask, no service. You can do that if you want to. The question is that the right decision for your business?
Awesome. Okay, so the risks of unmasking. Woohoo! That's where we are.